What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here, and it looks like we're getting clear signs of a locker room fracture between two of our most important pieces on the offensive side, and one quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and one wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. So let me know what you guys think first and foremost. Hopefully I'm just reading into this too much, but it feels like when you look at the instances over the last year, you can say there's been some signs, right? Some foresight in a potential growing issue between these two players. And now it seems like things may become starting to boil to a head, right? This Rams game really exposed a couple of things between both players if you feel like they were directing comments towards each other, right? So for one, how do we get to this point? Hall of Fame quarterback legend, one that's provided effusive praise to Garrett Wilson on all manner of things: the professionalism, the durability, the determination to go out there and just win and get better every single day, the easiness that it comes with being able to throw to him and see why he's such an elite player, the burst, the cuts in and out of breaks, smoothness, the release off the line of scrimmage, catching the ball, you name it, right? Aaron Rodgers has commented something high on Garrett Wilson here at some point over these last 2 years. So there would be zero reason to believe that he would suddenly have shade that he can throw to Garrett Wilson. Or if you flip things, in Garrett Wilson's case, there's actually been a number of times where you can start to pinpoint critical comments made that could potentially irk Aaron Rodgers, right? You have the multiple outbursts between him and Aaron Rodgers, specifically at least a handful of times during OTAs and training camp, and at least a handful of times over the course of the regular season. And that's just some of the clips, some of the footage, and some of the stuff that insiders have shared with us that we were lucky to get privy to, right? But then you also have the fact that on multiple occasions, Garrett Wilson has called out the offense. He's called out his favorite offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, and in some degree, he's called out Aaron Rodgers for quarterback play, right? Even as recent as last week, you've seen the videos by now, I would assume most of us, where once again, Garrett Wilson is telling him, you see the fade ball, throw it. This isn't the first time we're even hearing this. This goes back to training camp, kind of as I mentioned before. So when you really piece things together, there's a growing dynamic here between these two guys where at one point Garrett Wilson was, it felt like Rodgers' favorite wide receiver in the world, second only to Davante Adams. And then suddenly it kind of feels like Garrett Wilson is much of an afterthought once we've actually acquired Davante Adams. And to Rodgers' credit, and also the disadvantage to the New York Jets, is that we've seen him have a propensity to target the, single receiver he's most comfortable with at that time over the course of games. Prior to Davante Adams, it was Garrett Wilson, where you've seen him force feeding him the ball over and over and over. Now, after acquiring Davante Adams, you see him getting the same treatment, being force fed the ball when there's opportunities for other guys to get involved. So, needless to say, I think quarterback play is really at the helm of all of this, right? But when you take a look at some of these comments after this loss to the Rams, you have Garrett Wilson saying, I would love to be involved, love to make an impact on the game, but if people see it differently, then that's out of my control. Just try and do what I can do. Now, this isn't even the first time, and we need like a ticker counter or a tally mark or something to really go back and review over the course of his career so far with the Jets. How many times has he not been targeted more than 3 or 4 times before halftime even hits, right? And that would be excluding games where we're already down 20-0 or such, right? Plenty of games where we're realistically done by halftime here, but I can probably say there's at least 3 or 4 games realistically where the man hasn't been a factor whatsoever in the passing attack, whether it was successful or not, until about the third quarter, if not later. So you can imagine from everybody's perspective, it makes absolutely zero sense. And then, of course, the comments from Garrett Wilson towards LaFleur as well, saying that was probably his best time and most memorable moments being with the New York Jets so far. And then, of course, praising the Rams' ability to go out there and have success is kind of damning as well, right? To add on top of that, you have Garrett Wilson Instagramming something out, which I guess was deleted at some point, where it mentions, "You think I'm trying to be cool with that 5-yard catch? Absolutely no. I'm trying to take that MF to the crib, turn it into an explosive, shake the whole squad, at least go out trying. You probably never understand. If you're mad about 2 yards, just know that's why we won't get along," right? Now, maybe this could be towards coaches. Maybe it's towards AR. I don't know enough about the situation to see who this may be an issue with, but it definitely feels like this is directed towards Aaron Rodgers, who's going to have control of all that. Again, Aaron Rodgers is the mastermind, is really orchestrating this whole thing. OC pickups, acquisitions to the team, trades to the team, and then, of course, ultimately, who's being factored into game plans and, how that's going to progress over the course of the game, week, season, etc. On the flip side, you have Rodgers, who feels like he's shooting back here, and I don't know which necessarily came first, but he mentions you got to figure out what it means to be a professional. I think that's an important part of building culture. The last 2 weeks, we can really see who's on board moving forward and who is ready to go out. It's interesting to watch the practice habits, the preparation habits. Hopefully we'll do the right thing, and that means a lot because everybody is watching, and it's a who you know business. Now, when you kind of break down certain parts of his commentary here, right, when you look at the piece about the professionalism, I don't think that's much of a slander towards Garrett Wilson in any way, because Garrett Wilson has been the ideal player for this New York Jets organization on the offensive side. Highly determined, highly motivated, vocal about what he thinks can help improve the team, and most of the time vocal in the right way, right? But passion gets the better of most people in some of these cases. Always on time, never has caused problems, right? A huge teammate friendly, kind of a booster, a pick-me-upper type of guy. And so if you're looking at him outside of the football world in like a normal job setting, I would imagine he's your ideal candidate before you even get to the, on-field resume or the job skill experience, right? Now, when you look at the other comments, like seeing who's on board moving forward, I would assume that's in direct correlation to all of the recent trade request rumor stuff that's coming out. And of course, Garrett Wilson poured a little more fuel on the fire there when he's been directly asked about it. And he's tried to say he's not necessarily worried about it. But obviously, we can tell that these losses, they're wearing on him heavily. The fact that he can't even impact the game in the way that he thinks he can to try to change that is weighing heavily on him. And then, of course, you have some of the final stuff here that mentions stuff like practice habits, preparation habits, and this being a who you know business. So maybe a bit of a warning there if he does indeed decide to put a trade request out there and, players talk around with each other, teams talk around with each other. Maybe it's kind of a warning that word can get back that you've been a little bit of a problematic guy, even for all of the success that you've had in the face of terrible environments. But I don't know here. Aaron Rodgers is always a bit of an enigma. Could be water on the bridge by tomorrow, right? But again, let me know what you guys think here. I think this is something worth watching, though, because this ironically feels like Aaron Rodgers, a player that I think most of us are starting to feel won't be back with us next year, is going to push out probably the most important piece of our future in Garrett Wilson. If we can even find a way to reconcile, rebuild the relationship, and then establish some kind of future with them. If not otherwise, it probably gets, nasty here, right? We have his rights for essentially another 2 to 3 years. I don't see this being another Reddick situation by any means, but you never know in this day and age. So ultimately, again, let me know what your guys' thoughts are about this whole situation, and I'll catch you again. Peace.